Welcome back, viewers, to this, our discussion on the budget 2017-18 with specific reference to agriculture. You're watching New Vision TV. I'm Paul Busharizi, your host, and with me in the studio, my panel of experts to discuss the subject, Dr. John Bahana on my left, the Honorable Victoria Sechitoroka on my right, and Dr. Emma Nalwima also on my right. But let me come back to this discussion about the budget. As I said earlier, we expect the budget, agriculture budget to be about 880 billion shillings in the coming year, which is about 3% of the 28 billion budget we're expecting to be read or to be passed at the end of this month and read, to be passed at the end of next month and read in June. I think still, given that 70% of our people derive a livelihood from agriculture, this budget should be increased. That's my thinking. I don't do any agriculture, but that's my thinking. It's just kind of symmetry. I don't know whether they call it symmetry. You can't dedicate 3% of the budget to 70% of the people. It's just mind-boggling from a purely arithmetic, not even mathematical sense. But Dr. Bahana, let's just say, the government saw the light and raised the budget. Let's even say 10% of the budget. Where do you think this would be most? Where do you think the increases would be most effective?
First of all, for me, I subscribe to proper use of the envelope that you have to begin with. It does not matter how much money you are going to be given if you do not know how to focus. And at the end, whom you are going to report and say, you gave me this money, and this is what I achieved. So we've got this major problem. I'll give you an example. I was in Rwanda recently, sometime last year, and it was exciting driving from Kisoro, from Kigali up to Ruhengeri, Uganda border. And all the maize was at tasseling stage. And you begin to think that actually the whole of that maize plantation belongs to one person. But no, it is the way the Ministry of Agriculture is organized, and they organize their farmers, and they tell them that this is planting week. Okay? And within this planting week, the available quality seed is there. And after some time, this is the time to apply fertilizer. This is the time to address, crop protection issues until harvest time. And it is amazing. Now, for us here, we are always fumbling. Even with the doctors in Entebbe Road, nobody plants in rows. People just broadcast.
No. 21st century, you can't be broadcasting.
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. They do that. Maybe they...
No wonder our yields are so bad.
Absolutely. So then somebody wakes up and says, oh, I forgot to apply NPK. 2 weeks after planting.
What is NPK?
It is a compound fertilizer that you must apply when you are planting maize. So it is mismatched application of resources, and this is what we need to address. So if Minister of Finance says, this is your envelope, go and use it the best way you can. It is the Minister of Agriculture that should sit down and start planning appropriately. We talked about value chains. Look at the potential market for maize. It is huge. Sudan is at war, therefore they will require our maize. Kenya can never produce sufficient quantities of maize. So Uganda has got the opportunity to grow sufficient quantities and sell. And that means right from the word go, the time that you plant the maize, it must be quality seed.
So that's from before?
Right from before, absolutely.
Into the seed.
Absolutely. And then, look after your maize crop properly. Make sure that you are going to process it, package it properly. Don't start sending in rucksacks, for goodness sake. And if we are going to...
in rucksacks.
That's what it is.
Sometimes it's bought at the plantation, in the field.
Yes. And then we must have storage systems. I remember Honorable Sechitoroka used to sing the song of having storage. What happened to storage? Colonial time, we had stores all over the place. And if I'm a farmer and I've stocked my maize of a certain quantity, 1 ton, for example, okay, I can walk to any bank and I will say, the receipt system, I'll say, give me 1 million shillings because against my stock of maize. Priority, Mr. Paul.
No, but I'm going to put you on the spot, doctor. You guys are dodging me. What if, okay, if they gave you now, they tell you, here's your we have raised it to 5 billion.
Yes.
Silver bullet, the one thing you would put your money on now, okay, we don't have the luxury of putting everywhere. Let's sequence. Let's say this season.
We've got a habit of do you call it knee-jerk reaction?
Knee-jerk reaction.
So now that we have experienced the drought, so everybody is talking about irrigation. Nobody is talking about weather forecasts for next year. Neither does Uganda Meteorological Authority tell us what the weather situation will be.
They want to arrest us for telling people.
So we are going now to end up with so much money in irrigation, and of course money will end up being misdirected. Suppose we have sufficient quantities of rain, what will happen?
Or if we have sufficient quantities of rain.
So we need to refocus whatever money we get. But let's assume that I want to address your question, that we get 10% allocation, all right? I would put much of that money in agriculture extension. And then I would focus my agriculture extension to value chains.
Okay, so I'm going to go across the table to you, Dr. Naluma. Your thoughts on, we've increased the budget, where should we put this?
Yeah, like Doctor has said.
It's okay to be biased.
Like Dr. Bahana said, yes, extension is...
And you're not allowed to repeat what somebody else said.
Okay, but look at it this way. The other thing is education.
Education, agricultural education.
Education cutting across, but right now agriculture education, because many farmers here or many people here don't have knowledge in farming. And after Honorable retires, or any of us, or even you when you retire, much as you're not a farmer.
There'll be no loss for in agricultural sector if I retire.
Believe me, you, Paul, when you retire, the first thing you're going to do is go into farming. Try. But you're trying when you actually don't know. And you're old. Basically, so many things are running against you. Your body, nature is taking over. And then there are no extension service people to help you.
No institutional memory.
Yes. But if we trained youngsters at an early age, then they would do something. I'll give you an example. This is a living example. I own a school, and kids, my first cohort were kids came to school, and we have a child, they stay nearby, they stay in Jomai. And this P4 child told the father, after 2 weeks of being in school, so they stay, I think, on a plot, maybe, I don't know, 50 by 100, but in a developed place. So this child told the father, what are we doing here? Why don't you buy land? This is, P4, I think, is 8, 9 years. Now tell me if this child lives, when he grows, if he's going to be the same, if he's going to struggle like you're going to struggle
when my time comes.
So, if given chance, but now we are discussing agriculture, but later as we are allocating these budgets, if again, in the education sector, because we can say many, with the extension services, you still need to do, you can't have extension people without education. So these things have to work in hand. But if I was only given this 3%, okay, and this is the only thing I have, right now, like, as much as we are working with the knee-jerk, I would still put it in irrigation. And then if I have less, some more, I'll put it in extension. Do you know why we are still having the issue of the armyworm? This the agronomists will tell us. But with my little experience in growing maize, this worm has always been there.
So it's been with us.
Yeah. But when you know what you are doing, like he said that if we are planting maize with the value chain, I think let's still deal with the maize, with the value chain, that at this time, let's plant. At this time, after 2 weeks of planting, we are applying maybe a certain fertilizer, we are applying a certain pesticide, okay? Now, we are running left, right, and center. Because me, I think I've grown maize for about 3-4 years. and I've been seeing this worm, but I know what to do. Okay? But then, surprisingly, my neighbors are being hit, have been hit, but I've not been hit because I'm applying, I have some little knowledge about what I'm doing. Now, why people are having problems is because there are no extension workers to help them, tell them that this is what it's supposed to be. In those days, again, where I wasn't, they used to say, I think they used to call them omlimisa. Yes. They come to the ground, and then they walk around, they move around. So these people are not there because there's no incentive. Even if I trained as a vet or whoever, and I'm not given even fuel or a motorcycle to go and move around, tell these people what to do, I won't. I'll just stay home and maybe wait for animals to fall sick and I treat.
Your silver bullet.
Actually, if I
You're
was...
at a disadvantage.
Yes,
you came last.
no problem. But if I was given more money, let's say, if they move the budget from 3% to, let's say, 10%, my first and most important point of entry would be human resources. And the first thing I would do is ask the Prime Minister to allow me to use every available resource, meaning we have got so many fantastic researchers locked up in Makerere. And some of them are not even trained teachers. They don't like teaching. So I would go, put money into research, but because it takes a long time to train these researchers, I would use the human resource which is there to beef up research. Then I would use the human resource which is there to quickly take everybody back who studied extension or who studied agriculture and take them through a quick course of extension and put them all over the place. This irrigation thing, for me, would be a bit secondary. Why? Like John said, it may rain next year, but that is one. Two, if we hurry up and it doesn't rain next year and we all go into irrigation, without knowing what we are doing, we may end up mining the land. Meaning, when you put too much water, because irrigation, let's say irrigation training is to know how to move water from here to there, how much, when, and how often. Now, we do not have irrigation engineers in Uganda. We do not even have irrigation plumbers. I mean, these little people, small people whom you would pay a few shillings to set up your system. So for me, if I had this money, I would put most of it into the human resources so that whatever, because agriculture is a science, whatever is being done is actually scientific and is coordinated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have to go into an ad break. This is the New Vision TV. When we come back, we'll be discussing more about the agriculture in the budget, the Uganda budget 2017-2018.